Hello and welcome to Patch. I'm your host, Paul James. Today I'm joined by Matto Phillips. How are you, mate?
Yeah, super duper. And yet again,
Damo still crossing the
one
Alps.
person. He was
You got lost.
gonna get to he got to Mount, he was gonna get to Mount Doom today, but unfortunately he got struck by a spider and got fully paralyzed.
And the problem
And
for
he
him
got
is he's
covered
got
in a
no one with
web.
him, so good
And
luck.
he's got Steve Wise.
Yeah.
Steve Wise from Minecraft.
Well, he's fucked. So good luck, Damo. We send you our best, and maybe you'll come back to us one day. But until then, the show must go on, and we are talking about PlayStation because they have unveiled a few big purchases this week. I guess people,
Again.
industry people, PlayStation fans, they've been kind of clamoring for PlayStation to, I guess, punch back after all the Xbox purchases, after the Bethesda stuff, after all those other studios from a few years ago, and they've started to kind of work their way back. Now, they haven't made any big Bethesda style purchases here, but they still picked up a few handy studios, and one that it seems like they've bought, though it's not actually official yet. So we'll start with the official ones, and maybe even in the order that they actually got announced. So on what was Wednesday for us, but it was kind of a Tuesday and then Thursday announcement for the two companies. What was first for us here was the first purchase, which was the biggest one of the two, Housemarque. So the team who've just done Returnal, and then all the indie stuff for all those arcade titles that they were putting on PlayStation for years and years and years, Resogun and Nex Machina and all that sort of stuff. Super Stardust. Is this a good purchase? Like, are we happy? I mean, I know you're not. I don't. Have you played any of their games in the past?
I reckon I've played none.
Oh well, you're missing out for starters. Their arcade games are incredible. So is Returnal for that matter. But
It seems to be the standard PlayStation thing, like, oh, they made a good game for us. Let's buy them, just like Insomniac. Which I know Insomniac have done
for 20
games
years
with them in the past, but they're just like, oh,
all
this
the way back to
Spider-Man
Spyro.
one's good. Or Spyro?
Yeah, they created the original 3 Spyro games.
Oh, wow. There you go.
Yeah, they did Spyro. They obviously then started Ratchet and Clank on the PS2. They did Resistance. They did Spider-Man. They did Sunset Overdrive for Xbox. They did that game Fuse, which is about the only real miss. They did Fuse for EA, and I think that's probably shit because EA got their hands into it and EA-ified it. They even did VR stuff for the Oculus exclusively, and apparently those are amazing too. So their history and skills go way back. But yeah, I do still see what you mean though. Like, put something big together and now let's put a ring on it.
Or it's just no more Sunset Overdrive 2 for you.
No, they own Sunset Overdrive. They own the IP, so now PlayStation owns the IP. So there's a chance.
I think it's just taken it away from Xbox. Like, haha, where's your second? Where's your sequel, suckers?
You want that? You got to come to PlayStation, where we won't make it for you. But yeah, I mean, you obviously haven't played any of their stuff, but from what you can tell, and obviously the reception of, say, Returnal is their most recent product, do you think it's a fairly good purchase on that part?
I would say so. Everyone seems to either really like Returnal or they really hate it because of one key feature.
The save game thing.
The save part, that's it. But other than that, I think Sony needs a bit more space-themed games. Yeah. I don't know. Do they have many space games?
I mean, like this is really like the only kind of space thing. I guess everything else kind of has been in the past. It's like the arcade twin stick shooter things. Like, then some of them, sure, I guess have like a space setting, but they're not really. The setting is not what you're playing them for. It wouldn't matter whether it was space or they set it in some desert in the middle of the somewhere, fuck off, nowhere in the world. Like, it wouldn't matter because it's about to tell you play the game and save the last humans. Well, that could be like it is in Resogun, some sort of space setting, and I don't know, they've been abducted or whatever the case is, or they could just be in the desert and I don't know, they're lost. You need to save the last humans. Like, it's all the same sort of mod. Like, the setting wouldn't impact the game, but I do agree though. I think it's a really good purchase.
It's a good purchase for Sony.
Yeah.
We just say that. Maybe they can get onto the next Naughty Dog game that needs
extra hands on it. Yeah, I mean, every studio at PlayStation is probably helping Naughty Dog with something these days. Though at the moment, actually, I wouldn't rule out the possibility that almost every studio at PlayStation is helping Guerrilla get Horizon out the door, hopefully for this year at the moment.
That's the next big one.
That's the next big one, and I'm sure they want to get it out and have something to go head-to-head with Halo.
And then after that, it's Boy Simulator 2.
Can't wait. Well, we'll see. They could have something to say soon. But there's also Ghost of Tsushima, the Iki DLC that's coming in the, what they call it, the director's cut that's coming out next month. So,
oh, God.
I'm keen on another island.
That is the new remaster.
The director's cut?
The director's cut.
Yeah.
Everything we did, is it in a 4:3 ratio? If not,
I'm sure. I don't know if that was I don't remember if that was a feature of the original Ghost or not. But
no, that was that Justice League movie. It was in a 4:3 ratio. And just
the Snyder cut. Yeah, right.
Wide, or as I call it, the Schneider.
The Schneider cut. The Adam Schneider cut. Adam Schneider is a carrot.
Rob Schneider.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Rob Schneider.
Schneider. Adam Schneider's the footy player.
Oh yeah, he's too.
Yeah,
was a footy player.
Retired. Yeah, I mean, I'm big on the purchase. So, I mean, I am a fan of Housemarque from a fair way back, even with their arcade stuff. Like, I'm not a big arcade gamer in the first place, as in like traditional go to the arcade and that sort of thing. And that's, I think, for the most part, because it was never really big, even when we were young. Like, far bigger in the US and other parts of the world than it was here in Australia. And even then, I think you and I are kind of the age bracket that we were in, maybe even just missed the real peak of the whole thing. So we were already, being brought up, and the Super Nintendo was big, and the 64 was coming out when we were about 8 or 9.
We grew up in the area where the little, what would you say, entertainment consoles started to come to houses.
Yeah.
At affordable prices.
Yeah. Which, golden age as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, so we kind of missed that stuff. But Housemarque's probably been the best developer at creating those sorts of games for a long, long time. And then they put out everyone's been trotting out the line since they got bought this week, the whole arcade is dead line, that they put up this big blog on their site saying, like, we basically can't make money from these. I know you love the game, and I know that, like, the reviews are great and blah, 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 but not enough people are buying it, so we can't keep doing this. We need to pivot and do something else. And so for a while there, they were working on a battle royale of some sort called Storm Divers. I think Storm Divers might have been the name. And unsurprisingly, that didn't go anywhere, and they moved on and made Returnal. PlayStation took a liking and they bought them. I'm hopeful that with this purchase, it means that they obviously have the financial backing now to do what they want, so they don't have to worry about whether they're going to be able to stay afloat, and they can just make whatever they want. But maybe that by getting this sort of extra money, they can hire a few more people, and maybe they can have like 1.5 teams, and so you can have the core team that's working on, I don't know, Returnal 2 or whatever the case happens to be. But then you can have another team that's working on an old school arcade game. They can kind of keep in touch with their roots, but also embrace what can come of having a multi-billion-dollar company supporting you financially can bring. So there could be a best of both worlds for the whole thing.
And you can now join the standard Sony story formula of, my parents are dead, here's my mentor. Just like every game they make.
Yeah.
Last of Us, Ellie's parents, dead. Mentor, Joel. Horizon, Ellie's parents, dead. Or we don't know if they're dead.
Spoilers, maybe. Kind of, sort of.
Maybe not. We don't know. What's the other one? Ghost of Tsushima.
Well, I mean, that's everyone dead.
Everyone. Oh, his uncle. Oh,
yeah, his uncle's the only one standing.
Depends on your choice. His best friend, dead. That other guy, dead. Just everyone's dead.
Look, I must say, I'd only thought about the PlayStation model in the form of the open world, but kind of still really cinematic storytelling thing. But you're right, there is even a theme to the storytelling, so maybe time to buck that trend. I guess Ratchet didn't have his parents die in this one.
Hey, that's a kid. That's aimed for more family-friendly game, but you can't just have, Ratchet's parents are dead. That's gone a bit far. Like, ooh.
I mean, there's some pretty dark moments in Rift Apart, but definitely not Last of Us style dark or Uncharted style dark.
There's another one.
Oh, actually, we don't know anything about Nate's parents.
There you go.
They might have just died of old age, or maybe they're off hanging out somewhere and he just never acknowledges their existence.
Or maybe he was just sick of his shit and is like, right, get in the orphanage, go and get.
They just cut him off. That's it. We don't want to be associated with the clown anymore.
we're sick of your shenanigans, Nate. Take your brother with you too.
And then just get him lost somewhere, and he'll turn up in a few years. Don't worry about it. So the next studio is one that I don't think anyone really saw coming, but I guess now that it's happened, it's maybe not overly surprising. Nixxes Software, who's a team that's been basically working with Square Enix for the most part for the last 10 years, helping to kind of port a lot of their games across to PC. So the likes of Deus Ex and Thief. Most recently, they ported Avengers over to PC. So they're not the core development team, but they're ones that are kind of helping bring games to PC. And given that's kind of PlayStation's direction at the moment, is, you know, we're seeing Days Gone and Horizon and
Death Stranding,
though that was a Koch Media job. I think that's some weird Kojima business there. Which we will probably find ourselves touching on weird Kojima business shortly, potentially. But I feel like it's a good purchase. You're not gonna see a new franchise come from them. They've been pretty clear that that's not what you should expect here. Like, they are there to help teams with development. So I guess it's great. Any thoughts at all?
No, I think, like you said, it's probably Returnal's probably might go to PC. Horizon.
Yeah. I think it'll be a while before we see PS5 games come across. I reckon they're going to, people noticed recently on, I don't know what site it was. It might have just been the official PlayStation site or something. But like on Ghost of Tsushima, and I think there was one other game, I can't remember what it was. It no longer says only on PlayStation on the site now. So they're going, oh, okay, maybe Ghost of Tsushima is the next one to get the port. There was a leaked document from a few months back that showed Uncharted 4 was on the way to PC as well. So I think they're trying to roll through their big PS4 hits first, and then we may not see ports of PS5 games for a couple of years. Not because they don't think it's important, but they want to try and maybe maximize all their sales, maybe leverage a game for PlayStation Plus before they then
try and remaster, more money.
Well, yeah, try and double dip and try and make money off the PC gamers as well, and then hope that some of them might come across so that they don't have to wait ages for God of War 3.
All that ray tracing.
Yeah.
Ooh.
You want to wait for God of War 3? Well, come across to PlayStation. You can get it, day and date.
Yeah, you get Boy Simulator while you're waiting.
Yeah. So
enjoy that while you're waiting for God of War 3.
Tactically, it makes sense. It's a bit of a shame if you're a PC-only person, but at the same time, you were never getting these games beforehand, so I guess you should be grateful, I suppose. I know it's a weird one. You're getting something you wouldn't have gotten before.
Like Games Pass.
And if you were that desperate for it, then you probably would have bought a PlayStation beforehand, so I guess it doesn't really matter. But they'll be a handy studio to have, not just for porting stuff to PC, but probably just in terms of helping development full stop. Like, if you need, they're just extra resources. So it's probably a good thing.
Hey, Naughty Dog, here you go.
Stop harassing Ben.
More people.
Stop harassing Ben and go and just use Nixxes and the rest of the Ice team, I think they are. Whatever they're called. I don't know. The last one, the unofficial announcement, was kind of leaked out. It's not one that necessarily anyone's overly surprised by, but just at the same time that the tweets were going up from PlayStation in the US and PlayStation Australia and Herman Holst and all those sorts of key figures at PlayStation about Housemarque being bought, PlayStation Japan tweeted out, and they got things very wrong. They put Bluepoint on there, and I don't. The general thing is that no one thinks this is a mistake, and I don't think it's a mistake either. Simply because in the art, which if anyone's seen the art, and it's the thumbnail for this episode with the patch logo on it, because we're shills and we've been bought out by PlayStation. Like, they've got all the games. All they did was just ask. Yeah. They've got all the games in the background. Like,
hey, will you cover Sony? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. We'll join the PlayStation blog team and be on the blogcast and talk mad shit.
Duties.
Yeah. We might be too big for Doonies now, mate. We've been bought by PlayStation. Sorry, Doonies. We love your fish and chips.
Had your chance.
Yeah. You missed it.
You missed.
So, anyone who's seen the kind of the thumbnail for this episode, whether it's on the Player 2 website or the video or whatever, you would have noticed, like, they've got a whole bunch of games in the background. There's kind of, like, little slices, and like, here's God of War, and here's Uncharted, and here's Last of Us, and here's blah, 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 blah. And so the one that we've used in the thumbnail, and the main one that's been used, was the one for Housemarque, and you'd see Celine from Returnal in there. But in this one that was tweeted out by PlayStation Japan, it not only said Blue Point, but also where it had Celine, it was Demon Souls instead, the remake from last year. So it's not like some accident where someone's gone, oh yeah, sweet, and they've put the wrong image, put the wrong logo on it, because they've also put the wrong picture in there.
Put the wrong character in as well.
Yeah, they put the wrong game in there, but the game and the logo match up. So the prevailing theory, and I mean, everyone was kind of expecting it anyway because they've been in each other's pockets for a long time. But the prevailing theory is that Blue Point's coming across too. Thoughts on Blue Point coming across? Because it seems to be... Look, if it doesn't get announced in the next few days, I'll be surprised.
So it could be a big winner because like Sony's new platform of remastered games and all this stuff.
As in the director's cuts.
Not the director's cuts,
just
like,
remaking
like the whole Last of Us bullshit that we had a while ago. That now they can just go ahead and just go, right, go remake all our old games. All of them.
They're the perfect team for it.
Could be a good thing.
Well, I mean, we've seen Demon Souls, we've seen Shadow of the Colossus.
Maybe we'll finally get that Siphon Filter remake that we've always wanted.
Yeah, I mean, they're also the studio.
Fire.
They're also still the one that people are speculating might be working on Metal Gear as well. So, again, Kojima comes up. Yeah, the first one.
Ooh.
And look, they did lean into it a couple of years ago.
Wait.
It was a Halloween
How's
tweet.
the controller thing going to work?
Oh, no idea. I mean, if they remake it,
How's
they'll
the
be able to...
thing going to work?
If they're going to remake it, they could use some other mechanic. You know, instead of having to change controllers, which I guess you could do. No, you had to change controller port. That's right.
Yeah, play 2 instead of 1.
Because I don't think there's like some native way to just do that in the PlayStation. Say this controller is now player 2 if you don't have another controller connected. So they're not going to ask you to spend.
Cable in.
Yeah, they're not going to ask you to spend on the game and then buy another controller for one little mechanic like that. So they'll have to come up with something different. But the core of it will be there, I'm sure. If that happens, of course. It could be something simple, like you said. Plugging the USB in. I don't know.
Who knows?
Turning it off. Taking a screenshot.
Oh, see, this is just making it difficult for people. Photo mode. That could be interesting.
They could have a bit of fun with photo mode there. But anyway, I mean, there's rumours about that. They had this tweet, I think it was like 2 years ago now at Halloween, where it was this very specifically, because they've been rumoured to be working on Resistance and Siphon Filter and Demon Souls and Legend of the Dragoon and a whole bunch of stuff. And they put this amazing tweet together that was like little references to all the games that have been rumoured. It was like this kind of spooky Halloween themed tweet, but they managed to drop key phrases from every single one of these games. You know, we're going to siphon the souls of this, and so they've, in that one sentence, they've already dropped 2 of the games that they were heavily rumored about. Like they were trying to tease everything.
Uncharted souls of whatever Crash Bandicoot is. Where's he live?
Wumpa Fruit
on an island somewhere.
So like they went right into it, and then ultimately it ended up being Demon Souls. I think they teased Metal Gear in there as well, but this is a good studio for exactly what you said. Like Sony's got a massive back catalogue, and they'd be really good at remaking them, and they've proven it a few times already. They're probably the best in the business for it, if we're being honest. They're just straight up remaking games.
I mean, their track record of remake or remastered games are pretty good.
Well, I mean, they did the Metal Gear collection back in the day, like the actual remaster collection. They ported Titanfall from the Xbox One version to the Xbox 360. They made that work. Like and then the remakes we've already discussed. Like they may not have made a bad game. At least in a decade.
They haven't stuffed up a remake game like they did with, what was it, that 13?
Yeah, I've heard so many bad things about 13.
How you mess up a remake so badly. Or a remaster, whatever you want to say. I don't know how you stuff it up so bad.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
I don't know how you scratch. It's one of those things you just scratch your head and go, how?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's just one of those just use the same thing but make it different. Copy and paste trick. It's like your homework assignment for someone else.
I mean, it just sounds like what PlayStation Japan tried to do, and they got it completely wrong.
There you go.
do the same, but just make it a little bit different. So they slapped Demon Souls and Bluepoint on there and fucked it up entirely. I reckon that
wrong company.
the fact that it went up at the exact same time makes me think that that was meant to be scheduled for, say, this coming Tuesday/Wednesday for us, and so they just got their weeks wrong. Or yeah, the wrong thing or whatever. Like one of those stupid scheduling errors that can happen. So I reckon we'll be seeing that really soon. But what about, given that we're expecting Bluepoint to drop at any point, are there any other developers you can think of that might fit the bill? We've obviously touched on Kojima's stuff for a little while, and there's all these rumors about Abandoned and this Blue Box Studios that are supposedly working on it. And have you seen any of that stuff?
No, can't say I have.
So there was a game that was announced on the PlayStation blog, I'm going to say like 5-6 months ago, and it's called Abandoned. And it was coming from a team called Blue Box, and it had a real kind of shitty take, but like it gave off a real Silent Hill sort of vibe. And people started digging into, okay, who's this studio and what have they done? And they've done nothing, and they're like completely off the grid. And yet, and the only thing that we really know about them is that they tried to launch a Kickstarter years ago, and they made $250, and that was it. And so obviously the Kickstarter failed. And then all of a sudden, this studio that still we know nothing about has suddenly been signed on this massive contract with, some sort of contract of some sort, because they're working exclusively with PlayStation. They're being promoted by PlayStation. They're on the blog, all that sort of stuff. And then they put out some tweet that said, the game we're working on starts with an S and ends in an L. And so just whip people up into a frenzy as well. There'd been a whole bunch of little things that, like the main guy, the only person that's kind of been a spokesperson for this game at all, who no one had seen in video for a long, long time as well, until he finally put some video out recently. His name was, I think it was Hasan Karaman or something. It was apparently like a Turkish name. But if you go and throw that Turkish name into a translator and translate it to Japanese, take a guess at what it translates to.
Silent Hill?
Hideo, from Hideo Kojima.
Oh.
Like, there was just a million things that are pointing at, holy shit, this is a Kojima job. And it still hasn't been confirmed. They said they were working on a PlayStation app, which was really weird. But that could be like a language barrier thing, potentially. But it's this rumor that just won't die at the moment, and it's suggesting that maybe PlayStation's working with Kojima in some way, shape, or form. But there's also some reports, like Jeff Grubb at VentureBeat he reported just the other day that there's a contract of intent or something like that between Xbox and Kojima that has been signed, so that it basically says, hey, we plan on working together. This is now official, but we've got to let the legal teams go at it to work out the finer details. So I don't know. There's some weird stuff going on with Kojima, but I mean, could you see Kojima Productions getting bought at any point by PlayStation?
Well, depends. If the threat from Xbox is a serious one, then I would say no.
Well, the Xbox one is they're signing it's a letter of intent about a game, not a studio purchase, just a single game.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
But if the game's good on Xbox, then maybe Sony will go, right, Kojima, here's a big bag of money for you. Would you like it?
I just don't know if he'd go for it. This is the sort of guy who just goes where he wants and does what he wants whenever he wants. I don't know if he'd just buy it, whether it's PlayStation or anyone.
Because they'll say, right, can you go work with Naughty Dog? You're like, right, stay up.
What's that? The Last of Us Part 3? Get out of here. There's not enough
nope.
Cardboard boxes and weird...
And to have a giant mech warrior and a weird ending.
Yeah.
If not...
Then wait till we play the end of The Last of Us Part 3 and there's a giant mech walking around and...
A snake turns up just out of nowhere.
Just becomes like a Smash Brothers game.
And what's the pyramid head from Silent Hill? Is that
yeah, pyramid head.
Yeah, the pyramid head just rocks up out of nowhere.
And it turns out The Last of Us Part 3 is actually Silent Hills. So then we get Norman Reedus with a few zombies chasing him from The Walking Dead, and it's on for young and old. But I mean, one of the rumors for a while has been that PlayStation, whether Kojima's involved or not, which, I mean, my gut on this whole Abandoned thing just... I was going to say that it can't be Kojima, but
really cruel.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's just played a real cruel joke on people. He's like, oh, there's this big game coming for PlayStation. Then he just goes to Xbox and like, sucked in.
Well, I don't know. Like it's the whole thing's really. I mean, he could be working on 2 different games at once. Like it could be as simple as that. But the abandoned thing is just my brain says that it can't be a Kojima thing. Or one part of my brain, sorry, says it can't be a Kojima thing. It just doesn't make enough sense. But then there's far too many coincidences, like the name translation and a whole bunch of other things that people have been digging up all over the internet. There's a million, like if you go deep diving into the abandoned, like just search up, I don't know, abandoned conspiracy theory. I don't know. You might have to put abandoned game conspiracy theory, or otherwise God knows what you're going to find.
Kojima.
Yeah, and the internet will just deliver you this amazing thing of all these things that people have found. There's things that just don't add up. And again, this studio that has got no history. In fact, their only piece of history is a failed Kickstarter that made $250. It just doesn't add up. There's half of my brain says it can't make sense, but the other half is like there's just too many coincidences here for it to not be Kojima. And the fact that he's remained radio silent the whole time, like he's not even coming out and saying, hey, like I know there's a lot of people here that are involved with this thing, it's not me, also seems a bit odd. So I don't know, it's weird.
Or maybe this is the game.
Yeah, but ignoring all that, there's been some theories that PlayStation's gone out or is planning to go out anyway and at least obtain the licenses to Metal Gear, Castlevania and Silent Hill so that they can use them, even though they're not going to own them. They license them out from Konami. But even that one's been shot down because Bloober Team, the team that did that Layers of Fear and The Medium last year.
Yes, I do.
Just last week they announced that they're working with Konami and they make horror games. So put 2 and 2 together. That's a fairly straightforward one there with Silent Hill. So I don't know. That whole Konami PlayStation space is weird, but are there any other studios, ignoring all them, because otherwise we could go into a massive just well of conspiracy theories, are there any others that kind of make sense?
For them to buy?
Yeah, to buy. In a similar sort of thing to what we've seen with Nixxes and Housemarque and potentially Bluepoint.
Not off the top of my head. The only one I can think of would be Square Enix, but that's a big gamble.
I mean, you saw me just nearly choke on my drink there. I'd love that to happen, but I don't think it will. I don't know if PlayStation can afford to.
That's what I'm saying.
Sony broke.
That's what I mean. Probably Square Enix will probably buy them. Who knows?
Yeah, quite possibly. What springs to mind?
If Square Enix just had a really, really tough time and then everything was going bad,
that's when PlayStation could swoop in.
That's when PlayStation could swoop in.
But they're sitting on a mountain of Final Fantasy VII remake money, so they don't have to worry about that. The thing about both, so I'm going to ignore Nixxes for the sake of this because they're not being bought to make games, or like their own games. Like the common thread between Bluepoint and Housemarque is that they've worked with PlayStation kind of informally, exclusively for a long time. Like it's not been a contractual thing, but they've been working pretty much just with them for a long, long time. And I can't think of too many other developers or publishers that are kind of doing that. One that maybe springs to mind, and even then they haven't been doing it exclusively, is Sumo Digital, who worked on like Little Big Planet 3. They did Sackboy last year. They've done a few other bits and pieces along the way, but they also did Crackdown 3 for Xbox in the last couple of years. So they're not as tight with PlayStation as, say, Housemarque or Bluepoint have been, or were, whatever. There's no real obvious ones in my mind. To your point, like
I think all the most popular small ones have already been brought up by both of them. Yeah. There's not really many small ones left unless they start going to the indie developers.
Which I guess they could do. The one theory I've gotten, I mean, tell me what you think about this. You know how they've been kind of partnering up with a whole bunch of small studios recently? So like during the E3, like the Jeff Keighley one, they announced that they were working with a small, this team randomly came out of nowhere and they didn't have a game to show. I can't remember their name now. I should try and look it up while we're chatting. But they announced, hey, we're working on this new game that we're made up of ex-Call of Duty people, ex-Bungie people, all that sort of stuff. And we're going to be working exclusively with PlayStation. And there's 3 studios that have now done this, including Haven Studio, which is a brand new studio from Jade Raymond. So she did Assassin's Creed and all that sort of. She was kind of the head of the original.
Oh
few
yeah, I remember
Assassin's
her.
Creeds.
Yeah, then she left. Yeah,
She
I
went
remember
over to
that.
EA, and things were going okay
I
for a little
do
while
remember.
there until EA completely fucked her over with. She was working on the same game that Amy Hennig was, the cancelled one, the cancelled Star Wars one that everyone was kind of keen on. Not 1313.
Oh, yeah.
It was kind of the untitled one. She was then working on something else Star Wars related. They also scrapped, and so she kind of got the shits and left. She went over to Google after that, only for Google to go, nah, we're not going to do this first party thing anymore. So she left again, formed her own studio, and like she left, and then a week later, PlayStation announced, hey, we're working with Jade Raymond and this Haven team. So they've clearly got nothing to show. But there's a whole bunch of small studios like that that are kind of popping up and saying, hey, we're going to be working exclusively with PlayStation on our next game or whatever it happens to be. So I wonder if, to both of our points where there's no real obvious other big companies out there to purchase, that this is PlayStation almost going back to the PS1, PS2 era and going, okay, so we're going to now build up our next round of Naughty Dogs and Insomniacs and Sucker Punches and all those sorts of studios.
So
And,
they're on the recruitment.
yeah, so like these small studios who we don't need to throw a lot of money at because they'll take anything just so that they can actually make a game. We'll work with them. We'll support them as much as we possibly can. We'll be best friends with them. And then if things go well, we'll throw a big bag of money at them and say, hey, do you want to join us? So I wonder if that is kind of maybe the plan here. And they might announce 10 different studios that they're doing this thing with, and 10 of them aren't going to create amazing games, but maybe 5 of them do. And so they're the 5 that they continue to persist with. So I wonder if that's maybe a strategy. I mean, since these little small studios are being announced.
Could be. I mean, like we said, all the studios have been purchased already. So what's the next best thing to do? Go find ex-employees of this certain company or that company and then bring them all together and make a game of some sort.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. So what have we got? Yeah, one of the teams was called Firewalk, so it's got ex-Destiny people. That was one that was announced a few months back. Then there was a studio called Deviation Games, which made a similar announcement at Jeff Keighley's Kickoff Live thing. And then there's Jade Raymond's one. So there's already 3 that they've announced in the space with only about a month and a half between them. So, yeah, I don't know. This could be the next generation of kind of their Naughty Dogs and Sucker Punches and Insomniacs that they're trying to buddy up to now. Get in with them really early in the hopes that bears fruit maybe 5-10 years from now. Because they don't, I mean, Xbox is obviously coming hard, but do PlayStation really need, like, they've already got amazing games coming out and amazing studios. They don't need to staff up like Xbox did.
I think they really need to go into panic mode and just start buying companies because Xbox is.
Yeah.
Because Xbox, the companies that Xbox have, they haven't made any games yet.
Yeah. It's going to take a while.
So I don't think it's going to take a while. Where Sony's already got that down pat. They've
just got a conveyor belt and they're just churning them out.
Yeah, they've got another Spider-Man game coming out. There's Horizon. There's
God of War.
I don't know if there can be God of War. They can make another Infamous game if they really wanted to rub it in their face.
Please give me an Infamous. Yeah, and
Maybe,
they just go, hey, way better than Crackdown.
They also got, what do you say? Is it Quantum Break?
No, Quantum Break was Xbox. That was Remedy and Xbox. Quantic Dream was a studio, but they're not working together anymore. Quantic Dream did like Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls and
Beyond
whatever.
Two Souls.
And you probably don't want to go near that company at the moment. They're pretty tarnished reputation at the moment. So with their boss, a couple of their head honchos getting involved in some inappropriate workplace behavior, and they can't like. Yeah, I'll have to link you to some of the reports about how they. One of them burst into tears in court.
Oh dear.
One of them said, "Well, I'm allowed to lie, right? Because I haven't committed to anything. I'm allowed to lie, right?" This was a question they asked the people in court. Like, they're not doing a very good job of looking after their brand at the moment. So, and I think PlayStation was pretty happy to let them go, despite the fact that their games were pretty good. It seemed like they were pretty.
Well, that just scraps that one then.
Yeah.
What about the ones that made Ape Escape? What are they doing at the moment?
PlayStation Japan, the Japan studio, they're dead. PlayStation shut them last year or earlier this year.
Oh, God damn.
The only thing left of that studio is Team Asobi, who did Astrobot.
Oh, right, that one.
They're looking to kind of rebuild around them, so I'd imagine we'll get like a PlayStation Japan style thing pop up again. But like they've gone from something really big, they've shrunk it right down to a core, and then hopefully, my assumption is they plan on just slowly building that out in time. So, but geez, you've hit me in the feels by talking about Infamous there. If any studio wants to make an Infamous, start doing what Sanzaro did for Sly Cooper back in the day. Just start making a game and then go and present it to PlayStation. Be like, hey, do you like it? Like, do you want to go with this? We can do it.
Let's do it.
Because that's how we got Sly Cooper 4. It was just a team that loved Sly Cooper. They started making a Sly Cooper behind PlayStation's back, and then went and presented it to them and said, hey, what do you think? And they liked it. So
that's, yeah.
Pro Strats, do it. Are there any others you can think of?
Not off the top of my head.
I feel like
I was going to say Respawn for a second, but then I realised they're stuck under EA's.
They're the best thing that's going at EA.
They're the only thing EA's got going for them.
Well, yeah.
Just think of all the other games. Think of all the other games that EA's done in the last 2 years. Besides It Takes Two.
Which is, even then, that's them just throwing money at an indie.
Nothing.
Let's just buy Joseph Fares and his team then. That's a good one. And we can have PlayStation just shouting out "fuck the Oscars," despite the fact that they have like a PlayStation or like a Sony Films branch. You have one bloke under that's just screams "fuck the Oscars" all the time. That'd be great. Hey, nice contradiction.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, true. That'd be great. I'm keen. I don't know. The Nixxes thing has kind of proven that anything can really happen here. So, they didn't seem to have any sort of really working relationship, but they realized that it was a studio that was going to help them. So they went out and got them, and there could be more like it. I think the only thing we can be sure of at this point is the Blue Point one, and that's just a matter of time. Any other thoughts before we wrap it up?
Off the top of my head, I hope this isn't a big trend that keeps happening. Just Sony and Microsoft just keep buying companies and studios, it just ruins gaming forever.
I don't know. I mean, if Xbox can keep doing it all they want.
Where's everyone going?
Xbox can keep doing it all they want. If they want to go down and create like an Xbox app for TVs like they're doing, maybe the Xbox app can come to PlayStation one day when they just stop making consoles. And so then we can play our Xbox games. We can play Halo on a PlayStation. It
just becomes Netflix.
Yeah.
You could see it doing the thing that Google tried to do that no one cares about.
I don't think it's that far away though, like with what Xbox is doing with Game Pass. I feel like we're getting fairly close to it. So, obviously, like internet infrastructure needs to be better, but that's it.
That's the thing. It's just the next presentation is just going to be a box of nothing. It's all online.
And we'll throw you a bone. Here's a USB stick if you have a TV that can't do it, but otherwise, go for your life.
Yeah, see, if that was Don Matrick, it'd be called. There is a thing called that. It's called an Xbox 360.
I mean, look, to their credit on their side, like you don't even have to buy a Series X now. They've spoken about how, like the xCloud stuff, you can just stream Series X games to your Xbox One and play it on that.
Really?
Yeah. So like,
why did I buy a Series X then? Maybe that's the solution to shortages.
Your internet is why you bought a Series X and not just going to sit and play your Xbox Series X games on an Xbox One, because you'd have to stream them to the Xbox One. But like Starfield, for example, they're not talking about it being an Xbox One game, and that's because I think the intent is that they'll just like if you don't have a Series X or Series S and you want to play Starfield, you just have to you can play it on Xbox One, but you have to stream it there. So it is the old Don Matrick thing. We have a console for you. It's called an Xbox One. Stream the game. They should hire Don back. It clearly worked so well for him. 10 years later.
Just for that quote, and then just get out.
Yeah, get out of here. Go back and destroy Zynga. Well, we'll wrap things up there. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to like, share, subscribe. All the buttons down below. Hit the notification bell. That way you're alerted to every new video the moment it goes live on the channel. That includes patched Player 2 plays like Game Review, Gamer School, and a whole bunch more.
Oh, you almost forgot.
I got it right this time. Last week I fucked it up. Awesome stuff there, so please subscribe and go and check it out. Visit the website, player2.net.au, for reviews, previews, opinion pieces, news, features, links to the podcast series, patch to the Player 2 Pixelcast and Dev Diary. We're on Patreon, patreon.com/player2au. Kick it a few bucks. Lower tiers early access, high tiers monthly episode exclusives. And finally, there's Twitter. You can find... Oh, Matto. I just looked into Player 2 Players mode again. Couldn't get it right the whole time.
Matto_Phil.
Paul James Games for me. The website's player2au. Thanks a lot for watching, and who knows? Maybe Damo will be back with us next week. Maybe he'll escape from
He
Shelob.
might be able to drop that ring into Mount Doom. He can finally get there. With Steve Weiss from Minecraft.
See you next week.